Hi there. Thanks for staying with us here on Prime On, and it's time for us to get into our next conversation, which is the entertainment. And this morning, before yesterday, we had plans of doing something very special. What we're about to do is still going to be special, but before yesterday, we didn't have a minister for the space that we're about to talk about. But now we do have, and so we're going to be putting the focus on this person that we're talking about. And I'm sure most of you must have read about it, that the creative space now has a minister. And so now it's tourism, culture, and creative arts. It doesn't used to be like that before. And so this is the new name that we'll be mentioning in the next 4 years. And maybe beyond, but whatever it is, will be determined by what happens after 4 years. And so we're looking at the minister designate for the tourism, culture, and creative arts space, Honorable Jafar Abla Gomashi. Now, she's supposed to go into vetting, and then after that, we'll be able to say, okay, we now have a minister. But before we get into the conversation and all of that, I introduce my guest in the studio as well. No, let me quickly just introduce my guest in the studio, and then we'll take a look at the video. When we come back, we'll begin the conversation. So let me quickly let him in here. Mr. Francis Doku is here, the Don himself, and he's the COO for Plugin Digital Limited and host of Africa Rising podcast as well. Good to see you, Don.
Good to see you, KMJ.
All good?
Yeah, good.
I think you should be leaving this behind when you go. I'll make use of it.
It won't be the rest.
Oh no, we'll open it. But thanks for the time. I'm grateful.
Very much.
And also here with me is Kojo Preko Dankwah. This is the last killer you can find in this industry. Is the president for FOCAP. And if you hear anybody writing theses and attacking the ministry, the creative space, you know that this man is up to something. Good to see you, my brother.
Good to see you too.
All good?
All good. It's been long.
It's been long, last killer.
Yeah, you see.
When we meet them, we say problem day. Or today problem not day.
No, problem not
we have
day.
a minister.
We are fine. We are fine.
Okay, so take a look at this. We've been talking about ministries, and so we want to find out what happens elsewhere, in terms of the people that make up the ministries that oversee most of the sectors. So take a look at this. When we come back, like I said, our conversation will be based on the fact that we now have a minister designate. Are people happy about it? Can she deliver? And don't forget, she's not doing this for the first time. But the first time she did was she was in a deputy position. So all those, will come into the analysis this morning. But take a look at this.
South Africa's creative industry is a vital component of the national economy, contributing approximately 63 billion rands, accounting for 1.7% of South Africa's GDP. Recognizing the sector's potential, the South African government has implemented strategies like the Mzansi Golden Economy, MGE, to stimulate economic growth and job creation within the arts and culture sectors. Research by the South African Cultural Observatory indicates that cultural and creative industries contribute about 3% to the national GDP, equating to about 150 billion rands annually. This sector also employs around 1 million individuals, representing 6% of all jobs in the economy, headed by an ex-gangster to South Africa's Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture. Gayton Mackenzie has led a life marked by profound transformations. He's a businessman, author, and motivational speaker. Meanwhile, in Nigeria, the creative industry is a vital component of its economy. While specific annual figures may vary, the sector's expansion is evident through increased revenue generation and job creation. The government's commitment to generating $100 billion from the creative economy by 2030 highlights its strategic importance. The Minister of Art, Culture and the Creative Economy, Hannatu Musawa, is a prominent political figure and member of the Northern Elements Progressive Union. She has a degree in law from the United Kingdom, a master's degree in legal aspects of marine affairs, and another in oil and gas law. Also, in another part of the world is the United States of America. In the United States of America, there is no standalone Ministry of Creative Arts and Culture as in some other countries. Instead, arts and culture are primarily supported and administered through multiple organizations and agencies. The U.S. provides grants to artists, non-profit organizations, and cultural projects. The government promotes accessibility to the arts for all Americans and supports arts education and innovation in the creative economy. Dr. Maria Rosario Jackson, an expert in urban planning, serves as the 13th chair of the National Endowment for Arts. As the 13th chair of the National Endowment for the Arts, having been appointed in January 2022. She earned her PhD in urban planning from the University of California, Los Angeles, and is a Master of Public Administration degree holder from the University of Southern California. Through programs like the International Cultural and Exchange Programs, the NEA promotes American art and culture abroad. While exact figures of GDP generated externally are difficult to quantify, these programs help maintain global cultural relationships that indirectly boost tourism, trade, and international collaborations. The global value of U.S. art and culture exports was valued at approximately $30 billion in 2022, showing the significant global demand for American creative output. The arts and culture sector as a whole, which includes NEA-supported activities, generates approximately 4.3% of the U.S. GDP. Across nations, the arts tell the story of humanity, its struggles, triumphs, and aspirations. Leaders like Hannatu Musawa, Gayton Mackenzie, and Maria Rosario Jackson stand at the helm, proving that culture is not merely a reflection of who we are, but a beacon lighting the path to economic vitality and global unity.
All right, so that's a quick look at other places and how the ministry, when it comes to the creative arts space, actually, works. Over here, we had Ghana, tourism, like I said earlier, culture and creative and arts. Now we've moved back into, the name change itself alone is a problem. We want to look at it right here on the show. Don, you have traveled wide. You've been everywhere. You've had an experience of how some of these things work. First of all, let's look at the change of name. Was it necessary that we move from what it used to be to what it is now?
Thank you so much. I think it also has to be put in context that this was the name that President Mahama created before.
Yeah.
And if you recall, before that, creative arts used to be under information, ministry. It was under. It wasn't specifically mentioned as ministry, but in terms of its functioning, it was under the information ministry. But President Mahama, when he came into power 2013, moved it under tourism and named it Ministry of Tourism,
Culture,
Creative Arts. I think when President Akufo-Addo took over, he also just slightly changed the name to a Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture. So it practically was the same thing, but it's just the nomenclature, that kind of changed the bit. I mean, I would think that it would have been good just to maintain the name because functionally it's just the same thing. What it means now is that all documents, letterheads, things, logos and things have to be changed again to what was before President Mahama left. So I would have hoped that we just keep it as it was. But I believe also it depends on, again, the vision of the president. You realize that it's not just this one. There are some other ministries that have been either merged, some moved from others and added to others, and all that. So it depends on the vision of the person who has been appointed. I think some people had advocated that we shouldn't leave it just to the president. It must go through certain processes.
That we decide that.
That we decide. For instance, why are we changing the name? Why are we moving a ministry or an agency from here to here? What is the economic, reason or whatever? Because everything leads back to how we are looking at creating revenue for the country and the cost involved in doing that.
Yeah.
So, yes, it depends on the vision of the person who is in, but there must be some reason. But if not, it's he who we elected. And he says that this is how
I want it. And he stays the way he wants it.
That's what it is. So now we have Ministry of Tourism, culture and creative arts. And that's what Madame Jifa, if she's approved by Parliament, would be leading. And it's fine.
We'll get to Madame Jifa, but let me take your remarks on that as well. The name change. You've always been on this, space. You've always made it clear when it has to be made clear. Did we have to get to this point of going back and forth with the name?
Yes, I think it's a good one. It gives that clarity.
Okay.
Sorry, it gives that clarity to the whole, focus. People really do not even understand what art means. And people are, either it's visual art, it's art as in drawing, it is art as in what. So for me, I think that giving it that clarity and that firmness to it, gives it, an open way for us to understand that creative arts means business now. Creative arts has really grown, across the world. Even what you even showed us tells you that it is really giving, a good feat. Giving visibility to countries. It's doing wonders in terms of GDP, in terms of revenue, creation and all that. Again, we should also understand that, the AIs, the technologies are all creative, and it has really improved, the world. Why won't you decide to give it a definite, meaning or attention, so that at least then attention will be there? I think that it is, for me, it is good. Tourism is tourism. We understand what tourism means. Culture is culture. We understand what culture means. So if you're giving a creative art, then it brings everybody on board, including technology, gaming, everybody. Then we understand that this is a defined area. I was even thinking would have given much attention to it by even giving it, if it is we're even going to give a deputy minister to really be positioned as in charge of creative art.
Okay.
So we can really understand what is really coming through that space. Because as it stands now, previously you understand that tourism really covers or overshadows creative.
That was going to be my next question, because we've always had an issue with that.
Yes. You hear tourism telling you we've made $1 million here, we've made $2 million here.
The creative space cannot
account for anything. If you really delve into it, well, you could then understand that it was the creatives that really, positioned very well the tourism for them to see what they are seeing in terms of revenue and all that. You go to statistical service, we are lost in the game. We don't even have a definite area where we are. If you look at the tables that they do and the kind of percentages that they give in terms of income, in terms of GDPs and monies that accrued, you see art somewhere, you see music somewhere. You can't really position as well. For me, if we have given it a name that really position it well, we need to then justify why we deserve to be seriously identified as creative art and then position well on that score. So for me, I think it's fine. I pray, after 8 years, 16 years or whatever it is, whichever government that comes again, I think we should maintain it. Like Francis said, we are going back and forth with these things. We know what it is for us. You're going to go through the letterheads again, going to go through all these things again, change them and come back and do all those things. We need to maintain it this way and give a focus to it. Yeah.
Let's look at the power that tourism actually commands when it comes to these three things that have been put together. Like Kojo said, it's one way or the other makes creative arts totally lost in the picture. Can we put a certain emphasis on the fact that, okay, at this point, we want the creative arts space to also drive a certain sort of attention. And so whoever that takes charge is going to keep a certain focus on it. Then again, you travel and you know what tourism also does in terms of revenue, like Kojo also mentioned. Is it okay for us to maintain it and say that, oh, this is where we contribute, so we shouldn't even be asking for too much?
Well, I think that some countries try, like you saw South Africa, what we just saw is different from tourism. So tourism is a different ministry from the creative arts. Because again, maybe they want to properly focus on and see what contributes to what and all that. But once we have brought it together, we would have to pay that little price, because I see tourism as, what exactly is tourism? It's so many things. It's travel, it's gastronomy, food, some of which will come from creative arts. Tourism is what you wear It is the things that attract people into your country, the things that make people go around. So it includes hospitality, it includes fashion, it includes food, it's a lot of things. So we need to pay that little price and say that creative arts then now contribute to tourism. And it is like a building block on which tourism thrives to make sure that we get what we want. Because if people come into your country, I mean, for example, if we use the December in GH, for instance, when we drive people into the country, we want them to come to the parties, the music events, and all that, which is creative arts. So it is a way of using our art and creative arts to support the things that we say in tourism, so that we drive the people here and then they have that experience and all that. So some countries try to separate it so that they know that if somebody comes into your country, when he's spending on tourism, but it usually comes from the creative arts side and all that. And then it can measure the creative arts and then also measure what tourism eventually is. Because when we say we want tourism to be the #1 foreign exchange earner, it means that we have to rely on creative arts to be able to do that. Because there's nothing else that we can do, apart from the fact that people have to buy food, they have to sleep at hotels, they have to pay taxi drivers, they have to do that. But what is the contribution? How are we measuring the contribution, like Kojo said, from the creative arts side, and see that, okay, if people come into your market, maybe 10% is from here, 5% is for food, 20% is from accommodation, and that's all contribute to the spend. Because we say that if somebody comes to your market, they should spend at least $300. But on what are we really looking at? How do we track that 300? One of the difficulties for the UNWTO in getting tourism numbers is from our part, Africa, because it's difficult for us to properly track all the spend that we need to provide to the UN, and also for us to properly analyze that data and see where things are coming from. So again, it comes back to, as we mentioned, the vision of the president and how he wants to focus on that particular area. And again, I think I would agree with Kojo that maybe we should have a deputy minister whose role it will be to focus on that side. As the minister's responsibility is for all the things, because there are about 13 or so agencies under the ministry, right? And so there are some that are directly creative arts, there are some that are culture, and there are some that are purely tourism. So there must be somebody who is making sure that they have a responsibility on that area. It could be a deputy minister, it could be the director of the ministry or the heads of those specific agencies reporting to somebody. But the fact is that we must know what the contribution of each of these are, as is done in some other places. And so long as we have added it, we must know. But if we had, I mean, maybe going into the future, some president will come, somebody will come and say, maybe I want to separate it so that we know specifically which this one is doing. Because honestly, tourism, we can't compete it with tourism, because it is what has been pushing us, for a very long time. It was number 4. They said it was number 3. It came to number 3 or something. The last time the conversation was had, we were told that it had moved up. I said, show me what it knocked off. Did it knock off minerals? Did it knock off oil? What did it knock off? Nobody has been able to show that. But we must see the data that shows that this is where tourism is. And these are the contributions of the various sectors to make sure that it moves there. We are at a place where Madam Jifa, if she's passed, once again, we'll come to her, but if she's passed, she has to now take the role and make sure that we are able to monitor all these things. And it speaks very well for us.
So at this point, it is fair to say that tourism should always take the center stage based on this.
I mean, I believe that's why. I believe
you should accept it and say it's fair. It's a fair deal.
I believe that's why when they are naming the ministries, it comes the one that
almost all the time. I mean, it's been like
so long as they will add other things to it. Even if they add sports to tourism, it will always be tourism. So some countries are tourism and sports. I know some. Because it is that which sells the country. It is that which puts forth. So every other thing helps. Because tourism is difficult to touch. Because you could have health tourism. You could have agri-tourism. I always argue that we've done cocoa for how many years? So many years, over hundreds of years. But there's no proper cocoa tourism. We've had slavery for so many years. There's no slavery museum or anything that would drive people to that. Because we haven't properly been able to harness it well. But it's always been the one that sells the country. And all other things help to support it, to make sure it's internal. When we say sports tourism, it is how we bring people in to experience the sports. And that's why tourism would always lead. It is not to say that the others are subordinate, but it is that which puts your country forward. So we just need to be able to see how to do the others so that it makes the country, where the tourism is the one that leads, sell the country very well.
I think that from what Francis is saying, we need to really have a stakeholders meeting to really position us very well. Now, when you look at even the NEC manifesto, they were pushing an agenda called the CAT agenda. The CAT agenda meaning culture, art, and tourism.
Okay. So the tourism goes back now.
Exactly, for them. Because they feel that, people who come into the country, they enjoy your culture. Culture positions the country. Culture tells the history of the country. Culture determines what the country is. So culture becomes the pivot, to shoot, the arts and then the tourism. So for me, seeing them propagating CAT and then giving me a defined, clarity to the ministry, I think that we need to now then position well. Now, because if people from the cultural side are also going to tell you that we really position you people well in terms of tourism, people will come to us because of that. People are seeing Zulu dance and all that is culture. It is positioning people to do that. Dance is culture. The way you eat, like Francis said, what you wear, these are culture. So why? Then culture should be the lead for us to then identify and give it much attention. But giving it much attention means that you then have to strengthen the agencies. I don't see why we have 13 solid agencies and we are still lacking. If truly these agencies were working effectively, then we don't even need a deputy at all. Why? Because if now you give it a creative arts, as in properly defined within the ministry, remember, you have a creative arts agency, which became the 13th agency as we have. If you have it and you have even an act, 1048, that defines the creative and position it very well. Get us a better CEO, get us a deputy, get us the board, because they even have a better, stand, where they even need to even have a 1% levy from the enterprises, just as GT is doing, and position well. So if you have a good agencies with good, effective, chief executives, and their deputies and board, why not? We will see real, things happening. And then we will have to then spend time. Because from what Francis is saying and what all of us are saying, and per the things that we saw, data is key. We lack data in the system. Creatives, we cannot tell ourselves that we have 13,000 or 20,000 creatives in the system. Out of the 13, 14,000 is maybe fashion, 10,000 is weaving.
So this should be easy to do.
It's not easy.
It's not easy.
It's not easy.
No, we all know that people who are coming in and out of this.
It was one of the most difficult things that the creative arts agency was trying to do. For how many years? For so long. Up until now, it's difficult for them to know exactly the number of people in the creative.
How is that difficult?
I don't know.
If you
even defining the domains, even defining the domains
is research in this country, right? They've done a lot of. We saw what happened with the music in research.
I think they sent out forms. They sent out,
Yes, but I think the proper way to do it is to probably take a lesson from what a board did with KPMG. Where they took the 2 million from Dan Mills and Mohammed's time to do, a whole research to really look into
which we didn't really see.
We didn't use it.
At least we have something.
0.02.
Exactly. Even in terms of music, so they were even able to tell us even what music was.
But at least we have something to hold on to.
When something was, we knew. But as to how to deepen and really position them well, we didn't do that. We saw it and then we just put the book or the subject somewhere else. If we also, like you rightly said, get engaging these research institutes, the KPMGs and all that, and spend money Okay, I wouldn't be so. I'll be happy when I hear a 1 million, 2 million Ghana cedis spent on doing research for the creative art. I will clap so that then we can have tangibles. Then we can understand that we are working for these people. Because if nurses are being settled, teachers are being settled, farmers are being settled, I mean, the health sector, energy sector, we know what is really happening. But when you come to us, policymakers can't give us anything simply because we can't put data down to collect anything from them. I mean, you're telling us we should build new theaters. Then they ask you, how many events do you have in a year? We don't even tell. We can't even tell. How many, musicians do you have in the system? We can't even tell. It's difficult to tell. I mean, weaving, culture, Japan, Chinese, the Asian countries are here doing everything to do with theater, doing all the promotion in terms of culture exchange and all that. We can't even tell our people, the number of people that we have within the space. I mean, it's a sculpture. If I ask you, sculpture, when was the last time you heard about them? Is there any association to it? Are they the members? Where are they? Ablade Glover and his people. I mean, that's old man. I love him so much, who was doing sculpture and all that. Where are they positioned within the mix in terms of the domains? Where are they? Where are we going to position them? What are their help? What do they need? Is it the one that will sell us? I remember Dr. Wow's era, he was able to identify to tell us that, we should now eat into the mausoleums and monuments and all that, because that is where the attraction is also coming from. Okay, so we agree. Then we have to see our museums really established well, position them across, we always have 28 castles, within the space. What are we doing to position it well to generate money? We can't really identify what will have to truly give us the money. So if we have the data, and I think that is one of the key things I will tell whoever comes, and of course GFI is coming in, the first thing that they need to do is to settle us with the data.
Okay, we're going to get into the GFAC conversation when we come back from this breather. And don't forget, before the name came up, or she was nominated by the president, a few other names came up. Some were mentioning Rex Omar, some said it would be Baba Sadiq. We had also, some people who really wanted to be there, but they don't want to be there because they don't know where they want to stand and all that. And then, boom, the first name came up. Now, we don't know what deputy will be like in that situation as well. But when we come back, we'll explore those areas and see how best we can, have got the fine gentlemen in here, fine brains, who will help us understand why we need GFA there or we don't need it there. And they will also explain why we need a deputy or we need to also strengthen other agencies to make sure that we have a better sector right after these. Thanks for staying with us here on the show. This is Prime Morning, and we're talking entertainment. It's a Friday morning, so you know what we do on Fridays. We're talking entertainment. We've explored the creative space, the tourism, the culture, and everything that makes it a sector. Now we want to focus on the individual who has been given the mandate to oversee that sector. And she's supposed to go to vetting, and when she goes through the vetting, she becomes the minister. We're looking at having a deputy in a couple of days. I'm sure that announcement will also come. When it does, we'll be looking at that person too as well. But right now, I'm sure you and I are aware, Honorable Jifa Abla Gomashi is the sector minister designate. We'll talk about it and see. Proud to her announcement, I'm sure there were names. Don, I don't know which name was in your head or who you wanted to be in that position. But you can share with us.
Doesn't matter now. Doesn't matter now.
It does. It won't hurt.
Doesn't matter now. No, I think we were on Showbiz
A to Z, yeah.
Saturday, and
in fact, our conversations today was supposed to have been a look at
the possibility.
And then yesterday, unfortunately, the list came out, and so we have to.
I remember I told Brenda that she should pray that the list doesn't come before
the conversation today.
But it's all good.
Yeah.
I thought we needed to look a bit broadly because as we have had this conversation earlier, is what awaits the minister is more than just creative arts. What awaits the minister is how to position this country as the destination for people who want to travel to Africa or anywhere in the world to travel to. Currently,
yeah, and not to cut you, unfortunately, that's how our mindset is. Once there's a minister, the creative arts space is saying that it is our
yeah, I mean, I think we overdo that.
We start asking
we overplay our hands.
Exactly.
Sometimes. We overplay our hands sometimes. You know, so for me, it's more like who has that broad vision and ability to, you know, rally all of us. I mean, because again, the biggest destination marketing campaign we ran was in 2019, the year of the return.
Yeah.
It was so big that everybody was talking about Ghana. Everybody wanted to come to Ghana. And it was a year in which we crossed the 1 million, you know, mark for arrivals.
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately, COVID came and, you know, we had to readjust. But last year, we were told by the GTA that we did, I think, 1.145 or something million. So we're still within that. Now we need how to push our destination so we could go beyond 2 million arrivals. Kenya recently said that they want to reach 5 million by 2027.
Okay.
And so there are things they are going to do. Things like expanding their airport, things like, you know, giving normal visas and visa on arrival and expanding, you know, different things. So tourism is beyond just creative arts. We see that, and I have said that creative arts helps, is the block on which we build to make sure that when people come, they get those things. And so it's very important in the scheme of things, but it's bigger than just that. And so I was, you know, looking at somebody who has that kind of, you know, ability to. But again, it comes back to who the president wants, because he's the one that we've elected and he has the vision and he knows that this is what I want. And so all the conversations we're having was showing that it would be Jifa, a black Jifa Gomashi, would most likely be the one to. Because from the beginning of the president's releasing the list, there was a certain pattern. If you look at the finance minister, he was deputy minister in the previous, you know, government when President Mahama was in office. The energy minister, General Paul, he was a deputy minister. And then there was a third one, the first three that the Attorney General, he was also the Deputy Attorney General. So I saw a certain pattern that, well,
all the deputies have been elevated.
It's possible that it would be Madam Abla Jifa Gomashi. And that's what happened, really, because she has the experience. She's done it before for 4 years. She worked with Madam Elizabeth Jare, who's now the trade minister designate. You know, so I think the president felt that we need somebody who have had experience before. And also, they did some work, perhaps, that they didn't finish. You know, so let me bring them so she could continue where they left off. I recall that the Creative Arts Council, as we have it now, you know, it was started there.
She started. She was part of those people.
She was part of the National Film Authority. You know, it started earlier, but it came into law around that time. Its implementation was by the Akufo-Addo administration, but it was passed into law at that time. And a few others, you know, there were things that we were working on, like the Marine Drive, you know, which has stalled. We don't know where it is now. Maybe she has
money finished. Money finished.
And a whole lot of others. But Madam Jifa is, as we know her, a creative person.
Yeah.
You know, she has degrees in fine arts and theater arts, you know, and all that. And so she understands that space very well. I believe that the president knows this and also knows her experience from the previous. And also, let's also not take the fact that there will be a lot of lobbying. You know, I think it was even said that if they've told you and your name is not released early, you live dangerously, you know. Things could happen. You know, that kind of thing. So it all looked like it would be her. And even though there were very strong push for other people. I mean, for instance, I felt that somebody like Kojo Bonsu, you know, because I know his creative experience. I mean, even before Kojo was bringing Cooler in the Gang and Musical Youth and all that into this country. He's done a lot of sports.
He did a lot of work in Kumasi as well.
You know, and Kumasi and all that. And so I felt that he would be a very strong person to lead the bigger agenda. But, you know, again, but when I said that, I also said that from all the indications, it looked like it would be Madam Abla Jifa Gomashi. And the president has done that. I think there was also names like Sadiq. There were names also like Rex Omar. I said that I feel that for Rex and Sadiq, in my view, it will be a bit too early, you know, for them to be the lead. Maybe if the president wants to do deputies, I think he can either choose one of them to be the deputy. Again, as we said, there must be somebody who focuses on the creative arts side. But in terms of the lead, I felt that the president will go for Madam Jifa Ablagomashi, and he has. And so, yeah, this is where we are now. I believe we'll go later.
Yeah, we'll get into the work itself. But
there were a lot of speculation. And beyond even these names, there were several others as well. There were several others, but eventually...
Maybe those didn't come too close like the others that were mentioned.
Absolutely.
But there were equally others who could have also done the job.
Yeah, so...
I think there was even Abby Bright. Abby Bright,
Central.
Yes,
Abby Bright.
I think she's also been in this space for a long time, but she just went into hiding a bed and all that to focus on the...
I think there was even a strong call for Elizabeth again to come.
Yes, there was that as well.
Again, I think that from that call, people were looking at President and his 4-year term. He doesn't have the time. Ghanaians have given him every single thing to say, listen, take the power and give us what it is. So he's looking at the shortest possible time to kickstart things. Then you want to say, okay, you can agree with him when he start picking the people we already know, the people who are familiar with the space that he is, so that he doesn't get too stuck on the way and then see himself, wanting. So for me, it was okay when I heard names like Francis mentioned, Jinapo and all that. Then I knew he's really looking for the experience,
more like continuity,
more continuity, to see efficiency in what it is, and not to see you now coming to learn or probably arrest yourself.
Time no day.
They don't have time.
Exactly, because we've given you parliament. We say, Charlie, take everything. Now you don't need to stress to come and tell us that these people say this, these people say this. We said we're giving you everything. Speed up and let's move. So if you really want to speed up, then it means that you need to go with the people who are really into it. Maybe in the next 2 years or so, you want to do a reshuffle, then you could then maneuver and get yourself in and all that. I was rooting for Rex anyway. Rex so much simply because of the work that this young chap has, the man has done. In terms of from 2016, yes, you see. The old man, the work that has really gone into, seeing the creative side of the whole system, work effectively. This man traveled 12 out of the 16 regions to really meet creatives. This man really was able to gather creatives within their areas, Western region, Eastern region, everything. As we speak, he's able to gather them and know. Even if he's doing data, I'm sure by this time he could be able to tell us the number of creatives that we have. This same man was the party's lead when it comes to creative, when they even started this election. For presidential campaign team, he was the lead for the creatives. You understand? So there was some expectation, some job that was given to him from party level. So all his duties were to do that. Part of the manifesto committee to draw the Black Star Experience manifesto. He drank deep into it. So it's more or less like if you really want to execute your manifesto, the people who brought their plans, went through the regions to collect, held all the meetings, the Creative Connect in Kumasi, the AH meeting, sat down with the people, including Abby Bright and all that, to come up with the manifesto, plan that was part of your whole manifesto. Then automatically you think that it should be
to execute it.
This is the best person to really.
What did he mess?
I don't know. The president knows what he's doing. The president.
But there's other conversations around the fact that Rex couldn't be efficient because they've seen his records with Gamero and what he's been able to do with
Yes,
Gamero.
I heard that. But then again, I was then still looking at a specific, a reason, because it was blanket. If you say he's sitting on musicians' money, I ask myself, how does a chairman of Gamero sit on musicians' money? Clearly, then the person who is talking doesn't understand the works of a CMO, i.e. Gamero, for instance, where we have a board chairman and then we have the executive secretary running the administration. If you say that he's the one not giving distribution, board chairmen don't do distribution, you understand? Then you also
he's always taking a fall for it. No. He's not been able to come clearly and explain things to people and for them to understand that you may have put all these blames on me, but then again, it's a process. everybody has their own roles they're playing. Why should you sit and allow people to put blames on you think that you do not have to take the fall for?
I mean, of course, he went to court on some issues. I mean,
yes, but
for
where did we
instance,
get with those issues?
I mean,
were you able to clear your name?
No, he
totally?
did. Yes, he did.
But did it affect the people? Did the people get to know that you've totally cleared your name? Because today, if you mention the issue of Gamro, it's going to go back to Greg Sommer.
Yes, but we didn't have people like you and I, probably Francis, that who really understand how CMOs work to really do the better explanation that we're doing. I mean, for instance, if documents are flying all over to say that Gamro held a meeting here and this Gamro did this distribution and all that, it is the same regs.
Okay, could you give me a minute? Okay. We need to fix something for you, but let me get to Francis too.
Yeah, I just want to point also that maybe part of the reason a lot of people were very strong on Rex's record at Gamro is because Rex was very, very vociferous, you know, before. You know, so, I mean, if you are holding a position and you are very strong about it and, you know, criticize those who were, when you come, people
before
expect,
you know,
a lot.
Office.
Maybe they didn't get the kind of results that they wanted, especially the artists and what they got, you know, in terms of the royalties. That, I mean, I have some people mention, you know, very paltry amount, but maybe, again, as you mentioned, it should have been more engagement, you know, and communication. I mean, it's a very tough market. People don't understand issues. Even when you tell them, they don't understand. It's a very tough market. But it's still within the same market that we want to be leaders. You know? And so we're going to be, you know, asked things the same way we also ask people things. But maybe the reason, I mean, all the work he did was good. I mean, Kojo said that I didn't even know he went to 12 out of the 16. I didn't go to the remaining 4. But, you know, but I feel, again, as I mentioned, the president wanted somebody with a more broader view on things because the ministry is not just creative arts, you know, and I feel Rex's strength is more in creative arts. And all the people he met may have been the creative arts side. Maybe there was somebody also who was engaging on the tourism side, hotels, you know, restaurant hospitality, you know,
for the same manifesto, you know, execution
and all that. So it's broader than just that. So maybe the president was looking at somebody who had that bigger view of things. And as I mentioned, it's not over. There will be some, in my view, some related to where his strength is to handle. It could be the deputy minister, as we mentioned. It could be a creative arts council. It could be something in that space. But I feel the president looked at a broader side of things than just the creative side of things.
How sure are you that if, and I'm putting this because of your likeness for Rex, if Rex is put into the deputy position, how sure are you that we wouldn't have a repetition? And then again, communication is also part of it because he was not able to communicate some of the things that we were supposed to know the very best way he could so that we don't have to blame him all the time. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. So we kept blaming him all the time, like you say. Are you sure he'll be able to communicate very well or even act in that position as a deputy very well so that we don't use Gamro blames to judge his office?
Yes, he can do it. I mean, president gives you a duty, you would need to execute it. And that's the more reason why I did say that in my initial comment that we need to really clearly give an attention. And if that is what the president is looking for, that's why he did tourism, culture, and creative art. Then what it means is that we need to have somebody who has the attention for the creative art. Indeed, the president himself really supports and really gets himself too much into the creatives. I think for some time now he has really engaged himself into it. If not, I mean, his 120 days execution, he wouldn't have said that he want to launch their Black Star experience. I mean, the manifesto of the creative art and tourism. So it tells you
a big deal.
A big deal. I mean, it's a serious big deal. So it tells me that there's too much to do. I mean, within that particular space, and getting Rex into that space for me will work simply because here is a case where he has really done the job that I'm talking about. I mean, done the rounds. He has really seen the nitty-gritties of what is really happening on grounds with the creatives in terms of data issues, in terms of equipment, logistics, in terms of the things that the creative need. So for me, if we get him to be the deputy and we see him I mean, getting his budget, getting everything in fine to see to creatives. I mean, the man will seriously work. In terms of communication and all that, I think it's a teamwork. I think we need, if he's the one who would not love to tout some of his things that he's done, he needs to really then position his people very well to really be speaking for him. Until then, we didn't know. I mean, even in Gamro, he was the first person who took GBC to court for non-logging issues. I mean, music and all that. He is the one who took the telcos to court. He won.
Even products like Joy Daddy.
Yes, he
set
won.
A very bold example.
Yes, as we speak, people are getting 45,000 to 50,000 as, I mean, royalties from Gamro. You understand? Like you rightly said, I mean, these things were not out there for people to understand that this is what the man is doing and all that. Maybe the attack started too early when people realized that he's an NDC person and still the board chairman for Gamro. And that is the more reason why they didn't get to renew their license, because as we speak, they didn't have their license renewed and all that. So there's too much within the space that, for me, I think that he has stand. I mean, he's one man. I've realized that he's very forceful. I mean, very intelligent, smart. If he really wants to do something, he wants to do what he's capable of doing. He has the energy. I mean, someone who has done 12 regions out of the 16. It's not easy. And still getting himself, whether he's an entrepreneur as we speak. I mean, despite the fact that he's a musician, he's a writer, he's a composer and all that, he understands the totality when it comes to the creative sector and all that. So for me, if he's put there as deputy, I would then say that we should then have his boss, as in Jifa, okay, to really position to do the tourism, culture, space, and everything. And then give Rex the total charge when it comes to that, because mind you, he was part and parcel of the manifesto committee that really went on. He knows the ins and out of why they did it, because you have 4 years to execute all. I mean, some of the things there in their manifesto are very tangible. The others that I see will delay or probably get into 2 years, into 3 years is the establishment of the National Theatre in Kumasi. But the rest are all things that you really and truly need people like Rex Omar, them to position well to really execute it. So for me, if it's deputy, I mean, why?
Okay, so we're going to take a look at this. When we come back, I want us to explore the work environment for a minister and a deputy. We've seen issues about, I can't do more than my minister would want me to do. My minister wants to take, the deputy wants to take shine off the main minister and all of that. Between maybe, and let me put Rex in that space as a deputy, between Jifa and Rex as a minister and a deputy, what do they have to do to ensure that collectively they'll be able to achieve the mandate that will be given to them by the president? But let's take a look at this.
Abla Jifa Gomashi is a renowned actress, film producer, scriptwriter, and a revered politician. Between 1994 and 1998, she earned a diploma in theatre arts from University of Ghana, transitioned to a Bachelor of Fine Arts with a first-class honours from the School of Performing Arts between 2000 and 2003. She holds a Master of Philosophy in African Studies between 2005 and 2008 from the university. Jifa Gomashi has an unbridled passion for arts, culture, and heritage, and has dedicated herself to advancing various courses in that regard. She played a huge role in laying the foundation for the review and drafting of documents such as the Ghana Culture Policy, Creative Arts Industry Bill, among other initiatives that are gradually taking shape in the sector as a Deputy Minister of Tourism, Culture, and Creative Arts during the NDC administration between 2013 and 2017. She brought her wealth of experience in the industry to the appointment both within Ghana and internationally. She is a member and rapporteur of the ECOWAS Committee for the Reparation of Stolen Artifacts of Africa. She was also instrumental in the formation of the Creative Arts Council, now Creative Arts Agency, a body that is supposed to regulate and coordinate the activities of the culture and creatives industries made up of 13 subfields. Having served as the Deputy Minister of Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts when John Mahama first created the ministry, Abla Jifa Gomashi has been honoured and privileged to head the ministry, doubling as the Member of Parliament for Ketu South constituency and also a Queen Mother in the Aflawo traditional area.
All right, so that's the MP for Ketu South and also the Minister Designate for the Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts. And that's the conversation we're having this morning. So most times we've had issues with, I am a minister, I'm a deputy. I couldn't function because I'm too careful, I don't offend my minister. I don't have the capacity to act like the minister. And so even when you have a creative person being the deputy, working, and changing certain things becomes a problem. And I'm still going to put Rex Omar in this situation because Rex Omar is a pure musician, pure music person, let me put it that way, just like Michael Krikumante was. Jafar is an arts person, by theater, by the fireside and all of that. How are these people going to be able to collectively work to ensure that we're able to push the sector?
So let's put a caveat. Let's put a caveat. This is not to say that Rex is definitely going to be the
well, it may happen,
deputy.
but
that is if the president would even appoint a deputy minister.
Yeah.
So that's the caveat.
Yeah.
But in case, that happens, I think those are sometimes the difficulties, where the minister is, of course, the one that the president has given the mandate.
The lead.
He or she is the one responsible to make sure that things happen in that ministry because he'll be the president's first representative and advisor in that space. And so it is his or her KPI to make sure things happen. Now, I think the way it can be effectively utilized if that happens is for the minister to dedicate some aspect of the things to the deputy and say that, listen, I'm going to rely on you because you are the one who has expertise in this area. I mean, and if it happens to be Rex or even Sadiq, they've done things in that area, engage creatives, and all that. So I am leaving that for you to be the one to handle because I understand that you are there. And let the minister look at the bigger picture of strategy, because there are also, and so that deputy will be the one that will be managing those agencies that are directly under him. And then the minister will look at the big picture, how to connect the strategies to the big vision, and make things happen. So it doesn't involve herself in the drudgery of the everyday things. Let your deputy do the work. I mean,
everyone has a clear
I think sometimes
role,
some bosses like to do everything by themselves.
Yeah.
You have people under you. Allow them, let them work for you. But there are times where things about ego also comes in.
Yeah.
There are times when our ego comes in. We have rumors of things that happened in previous administrations where ministers and their deputies, were not on talking terms.
Yeah.
And all that. If that happens, it is wrong because it will not help for the development of that area. Because if you can't have discussions with your deputy or your deputy can't have discussions with you on things that are happening so that you all look at how to solve issues and all that, 4 years will come and nothing will happen. So if the president appoints a deputy minister or nominates a deputy minister for appointment and ends up at the ministry of Madam Chifa, I mean, let's not joke. She will be passed, because and she was going to be the substantive minister. But if the president says that, okay, I'll give you a deputy, I think that there must be that kind of conversation on which area the deputy should focus and which areas the minister, who is directly responsible for everything, would have her mind on. Otherwise, we'll go and come back and we'll have that conversation that they say that everything is the minister and I can't make any decision. Honestly, if you say that, then you don't even deserve to be the deputy minister. Because you must do something, you must let something happen. And you're there because of what we have seen you, doing in other areas or in that same area before the government. I mean, for instance, if it's Rex Omar, we saw you going around, engaging creatives, making sure that things happen. Tomorrow you can come around and tell us that you are not giving him the opportunity to make sure that happens. Otherwise, then why did we choose you as deputy?
Yeah.
So I think even if the minister doesn't give you the room, I mean, in politics, you must take your thing. You must make sure that you take it and let her understand that this is the reason. You must find a way to engage. If you can't engage, you're not a leader because leadership comes with it. I mean, let's not joke about it again. What we are trying to find are leaders. We want to find people who can lead. And leadership comes with a lot of things. And I believe that after everything, the president or the government will try to give some training and, a way of improving people who have not been there before, or even if they are, everybody needs to improve on their things. So that you know that as a leader, there are things that you have to do. And one of those includes making sure that you take things by force, even if it's not given to you.
Yeah.
Otherwise, 4 years will come and you
have
haven't
not
done
done
anything. And we will mark you the same way we mark others when they couldn't do as we expected of them to do.
Kojo, 4 years, we're going to have the same rhetoric?
No, it has to change. It has to change because then the people who are really making us to understand the fact that deputy is nobody, we need to give it a different meaning. And that is what we are doing now. I think it's more or less like we are not giving you somebody who is from another party. We're giving you somebody who is from your own party. That is what they need to understand first off. And we need to understand the fact that you guys are there for an agenda. You guys propagated something to us. We bought into it. Therefore, we need to put execution plan into being. And that is that is the reason why the two of us are here. We might not be friends. We might not be friends from day one, but the point is that we need to make the ultimate, become the winner. And who is the ultimate? The president and the party. You people don't work for yourselves. So it is about communication, it's about playing to their strength, it's about executing the plan, the agenda of your manifesto. The plan that you gave us is about understanding the fact that the two of you who are there are working for the president. Yeah. You report to the president. If you disgrace yourself, it is the president you've disgraced and your party. So if they have this thing in their mind, and knowing that they are working for the president, and for that matter, the bigger picture is Ghana, then it means that they will need to settle and do things right. Again, I think our space has gone back to back with and making it more like a niche area where people play to their strength. For instance, if it is GTA and you say you want Francis to be on the board, which I'll be happy he's part of the board of GTA.
Mr. President, are you listening?
No, but you've done an incredible job. Even the boss of GTA.
I will clap. Why? Because we playing to his strength. That is him. You understand? If you play, so the players who are there are just like the football players on the field. You cannot be a striker and still be a defender. So if we think that, Jifa, you are good when it comes to culture, you've done transformations a lot in culture and all that, keep it, hold it. Let's sit and plan. Let's hold on to it. Like Israeli saying, yes, whilst I was campaigning, for instance, in my K2 South area, busily making sure things work, whilst I was in Parliament making sure things go in our favor, I saw you do too many things with the creatives. I think that the creatives gives you that respect. They give you that authority to say that this is what it is. When it comes to creative, Charlie, take it and run it and give me the report.
Absolutely.
If you need a budget, let me know. I will go and defend. And get to the budget to execute the business you want to execute. Let me see the plan. The plan will have to go with your manifesto, what you guys truly said you wanted to do for the creatives. Okay, these are the things we wanted to do for the creatives. Madam, how do we do it? Okay, bring a plan. I will see how we can also do it. I see it, I top it up, or I go to president and say, listen, this is what we need to do. My deputy is in charge of that. He needs to do it. What has really been the problem is that we are also part in terms of the people in the, we say, the deputy minister, they do well. He's doing well.
We'll give us
shine, yes, then the sign becomes some way.
You would have talked too much.
You see? But when it happens like that, again, the deputy should also be sure of also saying that thank you to my minister. My minister said this, my minister said this, because you're also doing it in the name of your minister. You understand? Because then you sitting here doing it in the name of your executive producer here.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So we need to then understand that communication and communicating what we are doing, okay, to be done well so that people don't feel hurt, within the space. I think if it is done in that manner, trust me, the issue of having deputies not executing anything and all those things we raise, because other sectors never came out to tell us that their deputies were not effective. Even when Mesa was at, energy, look at the effectiveness of Ejapa Mesa when it comes to energy issues and all that, both in Parliament, answering questions, defending the government. Where was the minister? I heard Ejapa Mesa more than even the minister himself, because he was too active. He was able to defend the issues that they are doing when it comes to energy and all that. Even when he was still at Ministry of Tourism, Art and Culture, you still find him talk about energy ministry issues and all that. That tells you how effective the deputy is in terms of a deputy, S. And he's also one effective guy until he left. I knew there were too many things that were happening within the ministry that he was giving upper hand to his deputy to do. So for me, it is more of communication, the understanding that it's a party that we've come, there's an agenda we need to push. The end result is that we need to execute.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Unfortunately, we have to be wrapping up. Maybe I want to take your last comments on that, your closing remarks on that, and then we'll end it here. I don't know what you want to say to Madam Jaffa. Or maybe there's one thing on your heart that you want her to start in the very first day in office. Maybe continuing some project or something, then we'll take
No, I think it's, first of all, I think we need to congratulate her on this nomination.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a lot that have to be done. As I mentioned earlier, Ghana is in a space where our numbers in terms of tourism, in terms of arrivals and also spend, is relatively low compared to other, markets. Botswana, Kenya and others are doing more of 2 million arrivals. There are things that we have to do to be able to attract more people into our destination. And I think the minister stands in a very strong space to be able to do that. One of the key things that I feel that she has to work around, which is why if she has a deputy, she should let him focus more on other areas so she has that, strong face in terms of the strategy, is to look at how Ghana becomes a very strong MICE destination. And that, meetings, incentives, conferences, and exhibition, which is what most destinations are now striving or directly pushing to get. If there's any big event around the continent now, on a scale of 1 to 5, Rwanda would have it. Yeah. Because Rwanda has positioned itself as a destination where some of these things come. And those things come with a lot of benefits to the destination. One, your airline, your taxi drivers, your restaurants, your pubs and all that. And we see that around December. But can we have an all-year-round thing that will make sure that at every time, we don't wait till December before we bring a lot of people into the destination. And some of these big conferences, events, things that happen would be a very good destination. We're going to compete very strongly with the likes of Kenya, the likes of Cape Town, South Africa, Johannesburg. We're going to compete with the likes of Rwanda, the northern African countries, Morocco, Egypt, and all that. And so we must really have a strategy. And I think that for me, if the minister doesn't, fulfill anything in terms of tourism, this particular one, if she's able to, in 4 years, push Ghana up as a very strong destination for MICE tourism, I think it will be, in my view, a very strong achievement.
All right, thank you. Kojo.
So for me, what I would say is that correlations is in order. She's set the record, first in the history of this country. First history was becoming the deputy minister as a creative art person, and then becoming a sensitive minister as again a creative arts person. I think she has set the record, and that is a good one for her. What I want to see done is that first of when she's done with vetting and everything, she should come and tell us the state of the Ministry of Tourism and Culture. Tell us the state of that particular ministry so that we can appreciate what she is getting herself into. So we don't jump into conclusion to start dealing with her when we don't know what exactly is on the floor and all that. I think that, again, communication should also be effective at the ministry. That is one of the things that we've lacked at the ministry for a long time. They don't tell us what they're doing. They don't tell us their plans. They don't, you find ministries doing all the press conferences and meet the press and all that. You won't find Ministry of, Creative Arts coming to do anything she needs to do to us. She needs to then sit and do the first stakeholders meeting. For creatives, he can do Greater Accra, he can crash Greater Accra and Eastern Region together and go to Ashanti and Northern Sector to do a stakeholders meeting, proper one. Okay, for her to understand what is really and truly what is there before then she gets into the space of executing what is in her manifesto. Because at the end of the day, 4 years, the marks, the cookers, and everybody will come back and come and judge you with your manifesto.
Very well. I'm privileged to have had two of the finest brains you can find in this space here in Ghana and West Africa. And for me, it's gratitude that I want to give to you both for making time for me this morning. Really appreciate it. This is where our conversation will end. Hopefully next week we'll be back again prime morning at 6 a.m. on Monday. And on Friday we'll have another conversation that we're going to be following the minister. After vetting, we'll come here and talk about it as well. But we're grateful to you two for watching, and to the technical team, we're grateful. Myself, KMJ, Esiedo the Golden Girl, and Rosalind Felly will return on Monday at 6 a.m. here on Prime Morning. Until then, please do good and communicate and take care of yourself and each other. I'll see you Monday.